Well, this bathroom's pretty old, ugly, outdated, and falling apart. So let's rebuild it for you today, guys. We are going to be demoing this entire bathroom. We're going to be completely gutting it down to the studs and fully remodeling it for you guys today. First things first is the demo. We were up on the second story of this very old home built in the early 1900s. We're going to be demoing everything we can and throwing it right out the window because there is about 20 stairs up to here and we don't feel like carrying everything down. We have a nice wide window and we can just toss it out. We perfectly placed our dumpster right below the window. Now, as you can see, this bathroom was redone at some point and they put Lawan plywood down and then laid floor tile on top of it. A big no-no. We never do this, guys. You can't use Lawan. Lawan cannot handle water. It will make the tiles eventually pop. Don't ever do this. Here you can see as a ground shot of throwing from the ceiling from the window above. Now, a lot of this old house is all of the stucco and on the masonry lath. So we have to be very careful when we demo this. It looks like we're tapping hard, but we're actually gently tapping in between the studs that we've located, loosening, breaking in between without going through the wall. We don't want to damage another room. This is very labor intensive if you have to fix it. Now, turn our attention to the bathtub, which is entirely being removed. As you can see, there's 2 layers of sheetrock here and then mason lath below. So we got a lot of demo, a lot of stuff that's got to come out of here today, guys. Just using the back of the hammer, getting some tile off so then we can work our way into the sheetrock. Now, we never know what's behind the sheetrock. There could be old wiring, old pipes, what have you. So take your time, be careful, don't smash too hard or too much. You'll end up in another room and with an even bigger headache than you started with. Now, here's the mason lath they use. They do the plaster over that and do the walls that way. This is before the days of drywall and sheetrock. More just right out the window, as you can see. Now it's time, we've identified where we can break using the crowbar. We're going to be removing all of the shower tile and the 2 layers of drywall and then the masonry lath as well. Now you can see there is a frame on top of that mason lath. That has to come out. It's too much. Now we're going to have to remove that. Then you'll notice behind that, everything is framed on a flat instead of on edge. Stick framing should be on edge. Now, we're getting the tub out of the bathroom, and since it's heavy, you don't want to carry it down the floor. We are lucky enough that it fits out the window. And guys, we're going to be doing all of these in a couple different parts, and we'll do the full breakdown, explain everything thoroughly. Oh, and she's out the window, nothing but net. And we're back with part 2 of our bathroom remodel, picking up right where we left off, throwing the tub out the window, and swoosh, nothing but net, as we can see. Now we have almost all of it demoed. That wall still has to be removed, but everything else is removed, and we're probably going to have some flooring issues. But as we talked about in the last video, this was not framed properly. It was framed on a flat instead of on edge, so the walls only have 1.5 inches buffer. So we're doubling that up to get 3 inches. So we're just sistering up, well, the 2x7 were running anyway, so we're sistering up to make them the 3 inches, to build it out so that we can make our niche in the shower. So here we are marking and cutting our 2x4s to heights. They're all 94 5/8 inches. We had to turn both the 2x for the top and the bottom on edge to match as well. So we're going to be entirely framing where the new bathtub is going, and once I get this wall up and built out, it's basically just furring it out to get to where we need. We're going to be removing this existing wall that is the partition wall that breaks up the bathtub and the toilet. We're going to rip this out. Mustache Man, which got stabbed by a nail. Always wear your gloves and pay attention to your surroundings, as he did not. Now we're going to be cutting out a piece of plywood that is around the pipes so that we can get this wall entirely down, and I can reframe it the right way. It was not nailed in properly, it was loose, and the floor below, there's a huge sag because one of the beams got wet, got moisture, and has really deteriorated. So what I'm doing is I'm sistering up that floor joist on both sides, and then I'm taking 6-inch lags and going through both sides, staggering it so that it will keep it strong. So that opening, as you can see there, was like 18 inches. I went 36 inches with my sister beams, 2x6s. Now, I take my laser level out to perfectly plumb so I can frame my wall so that it is plumb, level, and square. Because again, there will be a tub sitting up against this wall. I want about 60.5 inches rough opening for my tub. Now I had to put blocking up in the ceiling, as you can see there, in order to frame this. This will not be 16s on center. I will be doubling up on the ends, and then I'll be coming about 8 inches off, and then I'll be leaving what is, a 10-inch opening for the plumbing in between. Part 3 next. Moving right along to part 3 of our complete bathroom remodel. As you can see, the demo is done, or at least what we think of the demo is done. We began framing in for our shower. Now it's time to spread our thin set. This is going to be for our piece of backer board that's going to be under the tub. We have to get this board in so we can install the tub on top. Again, you always spread your backer on the floor. We use our 1/4x1/4 notch trowel or 1/4x3/16. You want the bigger notch trowel for this. Then you're going to be fastening down your backer board with your backer screws. As I said, we thought we were done with the demo. We had to tear up a bunch of floor. Here the tub is in. It's set on some Structolite and fastened to the board with screws along the top edge of the tub. More on that later. Now we had to change out all the plumbing. The pipes were old, rotted. One of them was even lead. We had to change the water lines. As you can see here, we had to change the drain. Water lines were switched over to PEX. Here the floor is back. Now it's time to do our flooring everywhere. Same thing. We use our thin set. We spread the thin set entirely where the board is going, and then we screw it down once we get it entirely spread. We push it around, make sure all air bubbles and pockets are out of the thin set. Again, you want 1/4x1/4 or 1/4x3/16. You don't want to go too light on this thin set. Also, you need a total of 1.25 inch subfloor. So we have 3/4 inch, and then we're using our 1/2 inch backer boards with our 1/4 inch of thin set, so we well exceed the 1/4 inch, or 1.5 inch, excuse me. As you can see, screwing the backer board in. Now don't mind my hand, I have a bit of a broken hand on the right side, but we're working anyway. Can't stop, won't stop. Working our way out of the bathroom, we always start to the back and we work our way out. We break up our bonds. We don't ever want 4 corners meeting, we want them all split up for strength. Now we put back in where the toilet is going. Look at all that dust as we screw. That's where our fan is. Our fan is sucking out all the dust. It's actually not getting to me. It's just right at the window with our air exchanger. Now all of our backer board is done. Now it's time to tape and seal all of our things. So we go over the screw holes with our thin set, just like you do with spackle or drywall. Then we go right down the joint line and we have our joint tape. It is a mesh tape that is sticky. It's adhesive. And then we go right over it with some more thin set in the back of the smooth side of our notch trowel. And that's our look. Right back at you with the 4th installment of the full bathroom remodel. The tub is in. The backer's on the floor. It's time to put the backer on the walls. Yes, we still do it the old school way. We use hardy backer on the walls. We use our backer screws to install it. Make sure your nailers are where you need them for this, guys. I've seen a lot of people do it and realize they don't have nailers. It's a bit of a pain to put on afterwards. So make sure you have your nailers just like you do for sheetrock. These are 3x5 boards. Now your hardest part's always going around your fixtures and your faucets and stuff like that. So we mark it all down here. I suggest you take every measure out the same spot, be it the wall, be it the tub, take it outside, cut it. For this part, we can just do square little cuts because where we're going, it'll be covered by tile anyway. Make sure you do your screws evenly and often. Now, this is hardy backer 1/2 inch board specifically made for the walls. This is water resistant, but it is not waterproof. In a later video, we'll be showing you how we waterproof this. Again, this is more of our prep. We're getting ready for our sheetrock. We want this all done. We want our sheetrock to meet this evenly. We don't want any humps, bumps, or lumps. We want our tile to flow and go evenly with all the sheetrock that is to be. Guys, as you're doing this, check plumb, check level, check square. The reason I say this is your tile will follow this. Use an impact gun to put our 1 5/8 screws in. They recess nicely. You're not done here. Just like with sheetrock, instead of spackling and taping, we mix up our Pro-Lite thin set. It's the only thin set we use, Pro-Lite. It is the good stuff. It's non-sag. It's really good. We fill all our screw holes. We tape all of our joint lines, and then we thin set right over, and we do our corners. Take our special corner tool and go right over it. You don't want any humps, bumps, or lumps because your tile are going over this. And again, you can always go back over this once it's done and sand it briefly with a tile, with a trowel, whatever, to knock down any humps. Here is our look. Next up for this tub will be a red guarding. Back again with our bathroom rebuild. Today, we're turning our attention to this window. Got a comment, oh, I can't believe you're going to be throwing stuff out that window. That window is being removed. You're never going to do a brand new bathroom and leave an old crappy window. So today, we're doing all the demo. We're making sure we remove it all entirely to the rough opening. Again, we want to do this before we do our sheetrock so we can sheetrock to it. We want to make sure we get all this unnecessary wood out, as our new window is going to be 36 by 42. We're going to take advantage of this rough opening and open it a bit bigger. So the actual dimensions of that window are 35 3/4 by 41 1/4. So that's what I need to make this. So we're ripping everything out, cleaning everything out, brushing, vacuuming, making sure everything is plumb, level, and square, measuring, making sure we have to do to reframe it to get it to what we need. First things first, we put a piece of 5/4. That's 1.25 inch pine, 5/4 by 6 at the top. Then I take my Protecto wrap. I wrap the entirety of the window and I tuck it behind the siding. It doesn't have to wrap on the inside, but it has to tuck behind the siding on the outside. That is our it's a rubberized membrane or waterproofing agent for the sill and the entirety of the rough opening. Now I'm taking 5/4 AZAC and beefing up the sides. I'm using 5/4 AZAC because it can handle rain, water, elements, what have you. Now the bottom is good, so it's time to install my window. As you can see, nice and snug all the way around. There's a little bit of wiggle room, a little bit of play. You want that. You want to be able to push it in and recess it to where you have to. You want to open up the window, close the window, make sure it opens and closes very well. Now we're taking our level. Again, we're checking level and we're checking plumb. Now it's time to fasten our window. There's just 2 holes for screws on the bottom. We screw both of those in. We're going to close the window. We're going to open up the top. We're going to take out a drill bit and we're going to drill 1 hole at the top on each side. There's only going to be 4 total screws that hold this window in. We're going to fasten it down with the screws again that they gave us. They're about 3-inch screws. We're going to make sure we go through the 1.25 inch into the existing studs. Now we're taking our OSI window sealant, going entirely around the inside and the outside of the window, sealing it in. The outside is going to be relapped. That'll be shown in a later video. This had to be done so we can do all of the sheetrock tomorrow. We'll be back again with the next installment tomorrow. And we're back at you with the next installment of the full bathroom remodel. I don't know what it is, 4 or 5, what have you. Anyway, this is a crucial one, folks. This is all about layout. This is layout for the tile in the shower. Your layout is key. I got my laser level up, and I'm just using my line, my level as a straight edge to draw that line all the way around the tub. I measured this line. I was trying to hit 11 7/8 of an inch because this tile is 11 3/4 plus 1/8 of an inch joint. So that's what I did. This is my 11 7/8 inch level line off the tub. Now I lay out and see exactly where my tiles fall. In doing so, I realized I need to drop this down and have an 8-inch piece below, and that'll give me an 8-inch piece above. I want equal pieces on the bottom and the top. I don't want an awkward small cut at the top by starting with a full. So I've adjusted my line. I'm dropping it down to 8 inches, and I'm marking all the way around. Now I've also marked out the start of my niche. I want my niche shelf to fall out to be perfect tile work. So that's a huge work in progress, takes a lot of math and a lot of layout. As I said, the box is going to be 12 by 12 on the inside of the opening. The tile themselves lay out to about 11 7/8 of an inch with the joint in them. So I get my niche shelf, I put my level line up at where I think it's going to fall, and then I double and triple check my layout and make sure it's exactly right. Now I let the lip hang down, that's 2 more inches down below. I take my level, I mark that straight across, and that's what I'm going to be cutting out. I'm going to be using a cutout tool and cutting out the perimeter. That little side of the niche is going to be sit on the 2x4s, and that's going to recess, so it's going to be sit flush with the backer board. As you can see, now it's time to get our cutout tool. We have it laid out. It is plumb leveled and squared. We're going to be using our cutout tool and cutting this perfect square. Keep in mind you'll need a bit of a carbide tip to be cutting through the hardy backer cement board. Once you cut it, chisel a little bit of an opening so that you can pull it off and remove it. There were screws, so remove the screws. Now take your box, plop it in, and see if it fits. Now you'll notice that there's mason lath on the back that has stucco. These are plastered walls, so I have to chisel that out a little bit so my box can sit flush with the backer board. The backer board is 1/2 inch, and this is 1/2 inch, so it's going to sit perfectly flush once I get it cut out properly. Try it one more time, and here you can see it sits perfectly flush all the way around. Now to fasten this, we use the same backer screws, but what we do is we get big washers over them, so the washers will hold down our Schluter shelf. And you also want to make sure you get the galvanized washers so that they can handle moisture because this is a wet area. We're going to go ahead and put 6 screws in here. Then we're going to get our ProLite thin set that we basically use to spackle our shower areas where the boards meet and all our screw holes. And we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to be cutting it in all the way around. Then we're going to use our mesh tape, and we're going to tape all the way around. And then we're going to go over it with another coat all the way around. Again, this is thin set. It's ProLite. Now that this is done, it's time to turn our attention to the red guard. Again, this board is water resistant, not waterproof. We paint our red guard on 2 coats, and 2 coats of red guarding makes it completely waterproof. We do this all the way around the tub, a little bit outside the tub, as you can see too. We want all of our wet areas to be hit with this so that it makes it waterproof, because as you know, tile in a shower will be getting wet. Anyway, it starts out pink so you can see the areas you missed, and then it turns a dark red once it's all said and done. Next up, we'll be doing the tile and a niche, and back with the next phase of our bathroom remodel. And look at that, we have water. We're testing the water, hot and cold, out in the tub. That's our plumber doing it. We are insulating the back wall. We are using R19 insulation because they are 2x6 walls. This is an exterior wall, so we insulate all exterior walls as per code. Interior walls don't need to be insulated, but you can do soundproofing or insulation if you or the homeowner choose to. Now we're drilling our hole for our vent for what's going to be our fart fan. Our fart fan is just going to be a fan. It's not going to have a light. We're going to have separate lighting in the shower. As you can see, our rough electric is done. Our insulation is in. Our walls are clean and bare and ready for sheetrock. We're doing more rough electric. We have all those wires tied off. The vent is ran. The fart fan is ran. Our outlets are in. Our LED light above the shower is in. Quickly throwing the window in. We had another video showing you how we did it. We're just updating it here. Windows in, fastened all the way around. Now we have to have all this work done before the sheetrockers can come and put the drywall up. So it's all ready, it's all prepped, the window's installed. We have our backer board on first because we want them to meet our backer board and be able to spackle to it. Now we have our first piece on the ceiling. We have that little cord sticking down for where the LED light is. We're cutting our next sheetrock. We're using 1/2 inch green board. We're using green board because it is mold and mildew resistant. Putting it all in. Now for this, we're taping all our joints. We're gonna have 3 coats of spackle. Here is after coat number 1. So it's coat 1, then it's coat 2. You scrape a little bit, and then you go into coat number 3, as you can see here. We do 3 full coats. After that, it's time to sand. All dustless sanding here. Once that follows, it's time to prime all the walls. As you can see here, the walls are completely primed. The ceiling has its finish coat on. You always use a flat white for the ceiling. Next, we'll turn our attention to tiling the shower area and the floor. Thanks for watching. Now that everything is spackled, sanded, and primed, it is finally time to turn our attention to the tile. First, we're going to start with our niche. We showed you guys exactly how we laid out for it in the previous video. Now we are marking for our mosaic tile that are going to be in the back of our niche. Lining up our cut on our wet saw, and we're going to run it through. Now, the pieces we cut off, we are going to be saving because we will end up using to make a perfect square all the way around. Now it's time to spread the inside of our niche full of thin set. We use our 3/16 notch trowel for this. We should be using the little trowel that is like a little margin trowel that has it on there. Oh, look at my feet, don't mind me, I must have dropped the camera. Anyway, here is us spreading the inside to show you what it looks like. Ordinarily, you back butter your tile. We really can't back butter these mosaics due to size, so we'll put them on, and we're going to be using a bit of a tapping block, or instead, we're just going to be using a rubber float that we grout with to tamp it in. As you can see, we're putting our pieces in to completely square off the inside of this box. This is a 12 by 12 niche. Again, after you put those pieces in, you tamp it out again. This has to be done first because our tile is going to come up and meet it perfectly, as it will be shown later. Now we're time to cut the bottom, the first course of our tile going around the tub. This is going to be an 8-inch piece. The reason we're doing a cut like this now is we're going to have an 8-inch piece to start and an 8-inch piece to finish. So there'll be an even cut at both the top and the bottom. If we didn't do this, there'd be a tiny piece at the top and it would look like absolute garbage. So layout is the key to a good payout. Now we used our laser level and got our perfectly level line prior in a previous video where we demonstrated all the layout. We are laying to that for our first course. We're trying to do our first course all the way through and then everything runs easy peasy off of that. We have an 1/8 of an inch spacer on top of the tub, and then we're going to do 1/8 of an inch spacer in between all of the joints on this tile. We're going to be doing running bond, which means we'll start with a full, the next course will be a half, so it'll be full, half, full, all the way up the wall and the sides included. So it looks like it wraps all the way around. It's a Carrera tile with veins, so we make sure they all line up all the time. We are fully primed and the time has finally come to turn our attention to the shower area. We're going to be tiling it today in its entirety. We've done the layout expansively. We've explained how we do it all for you guys today. As you can see, we're starting out with the 8-inch tile on the bottom. These are 1x2s, but we're starting with an 8-inch on the bottom because we'll have the same 8-inch cut at the top. It'll be perfectly symmetrical. We're doing running bond as we go here. These are 1/2 inch thick porcelain tiles as picked out by the homeowner. They are a matte Carrera tile. The Carrera is just the marble running through, so you got to take the time and lay it out beforehand so that all the tiles can match. It looks like the marbleization all flows from one tile to the next. You get a nice gorgeous pattern when it's all done. Now, these customers wanted a niche shelf, which we do on every bathroom anyway, so we include a niche shelf, and they wanted 2 separate shelves, a soap shelf and another shelf, so we have 2 corner shelves also of the Carrera marble variety. As you can see, we ran our back wall first, now we're running our side wall running into the door jamb. Now, when laying tile, we always use Pro Light Thin Set. We're using our 1/4x1/4 notch trowel, we butter the wall, and then we butter the back of the tile. That's because that gives us our strongest bond. We're also using our wedge leveling system, and and we have our matte white schluter on the outside where it ends. Now it's time to cut for the inside of our niche box, and there you have it. We leave spaces, gaps all the way around evenly, the same 1/8 of an inch joint so that we can grout it in and it all looks symmetrical like the rest of the tile. Again, that is matte white to match the tile and match the outside schluters as well. Now it's time to finish our tile here, going around what will eventually be our shower spigot. We drilled that tile out, ends up falling right in the middle of a full tile, so it's going to end up looking very good once we get it slid in there. As you can see, buttering the back in its entirety. Again, full strength to give us our strongest bond. And there you can see it fits right over the pipe, excuse me. And that is calculated simply by taking the measurements off the wall and off the previous tile. Same thing, you want our joints to look 360 degrees all the way around. You stare down one joint, you can see all the way around. That's how you know you did it right. Now we're laying out for our final 8-inch cut at the top, which matches the cut at the bottom as aforementioned. Take the time for your layout, folks, so it all ends up looking good when you're done and you don't have any headaches while you're doing it. Now here's our finished look of the tile. Next up will be our grouting process. We're going to be doing a cool gray grout, going to bring out the Carrera hint. We're going to tile this floor for you today, guys, and explain to you just how to do it step by step. First things first, we have to do our layout. For this, we always take our laser line, we get our straight line all the way through the room, we make sure it is plumb level and square, and then that is our point we're going to run from. We want a full piece next to the tub, so we want to start from the tub and we want to run out. That straight line must continue all the way through for the rest of the room so that we can run the toilet area and the vanity area. Now for this tile, they want a 33% overlap at least, and you can't have any pieces smaller than 15 inches, so they say. So with that being said, we're going 24, 20, and 16 and staggering the pattern for a little bit of a random plank look. We're using 1/8 of an inch leveling wedge spacers. Now we're just taking that laser line that we had and we marked it. The reason we're marking is because I want to run the course against the tub first, and then I want to lay all the way in the back. We're laying on backer board that is 1/2 inch thick, that was set with thin set and screws, and now you see we're spreading, we're using our 3/16 notch trowel for the floor. We buttered both the floor and the tile. We buttered both. That's the strongest bond. You back butter all tiles always. As you can see, I want to run in here, so I had to figure it out, but that's what the point of the layout is, so that these would be the correct pieces and they would fit right, and then I could run from that way out. This is the nook where the toilet will be going. As you can see, the shower tile was completed yesterday, and now we're running the whole way. We're not spreading too much past one course because it's very humid in this bathroom, and I don't want to spread more than I can work with, but I'm making sure it goes beyond one course, but not too much, so it doesn't have too much to scrape off. As you can see, our leveling system is in there. We put those in as we set the tile, and then we push the wedge in, and it brings the tile so that they're all level and smooth to each other. This is a wood grain tile look, and we'll be having a beige grout, I believe it is. Finally, time to do the last tile around this radiator. Now they're leaving the radiator, they want to leave the radiator, but they're getting a new cover for it. So that will be that. We ended up with a 4.5 inch cut piece against the wall. I'm going to be putting tile trim all the way around the wall, so you will not see that. Grout next. Turning the attention back to our bathroom remodel project, our bathroom shower is tiled. It's time to remove all of our wedges and our spacing system so that we can turn our attention to the grout. The grout is going to be a space gray in color. It's going to be a cool gray that's really going to bring out the Carrera marble. Now this was the leveling wedge system, so we're just going to use some pliers to remove them, and they pull right out. You could flick them, split them, pull them. Easiest when you have a bunch is to just use the pliers, save your hands, pull them out, and then fire them right at the camera. You can reuse the bumpers, the wedge part you throw away. And here you can see now we're entirely ready for grout. But before we do that, we have to thoroughly clean. We take a razor blade and clean any and all thin set off the tile that may have got there while laying it. Your hands always get a little bit of thin set on there, and you can get it on there. Next, we're going to be taking a cleaning solution, and we're going to spray it entirely down and scrub it clean. Now it's finally time to turn our attention to the grouting process. We have a small margin trowel float we're going to be using for inside of our niche shelf. You always want to make sure you go a bit heavy with the grout. If you go too much, that's fine. You don't want to have any holes. You go back with the sponge, completely wipe it down. You will find holes. You can always touch it up with your finger. Always save some of the grout when you're done because you're always going to have additional holes you ended up missing. Anyway, here's what it looks like. Now, you end up going back over that. You get the same color, the space gray, in a silicone caulk, and later on we'll have a video on going over those inside of the box ledge just to make everything fully waterproof. Now we are grouting the back wall, same process, only we're using our large rubber float, putting it on, using our sponge to wipe it down. Now it's time to clean. We're just using a 401 solution a half hour after the joints have been done, and a paper towel. Then once we get to clean all the cleaning supply, we use just a plain towel with nothing on it, and we just buff. Now it's finally time to grout our last wall. We'll be caulking with a silicone kitchen and bath caulk. It'll be white all along the tub and all along the ceiling areas. We want silicone because we want it to be waterproof. Again, same method, the 401 spray, thoroughly cleaning the entirety of these tile, and then we're using just a dry paper towel to buff it, and we're cleaning the entirety of the tub. We want everything spick and span, nice and neat. Next up, floor. And now that our floor is successfully laid, the time is now upon us to sit here and punt all of these wedges out of the floor and see how many field goals we can kick so that we can get to the grouting of the floor process. Now, I'm just kidding. That's not the only way you can do it. You can grab some pliers the old-fashioned way and rip and yank, and have some fun with it. This will serve as a great wrist and forearm workout. Next, we're going to get out our straight edge razor, and we're going to scrape any leftover thin set that sloppily got on the tile during our laying process. Now, you can see the tiles look a little bit dirty from probably some thin set, some dirt, dust, mildew, what have you. We're going to scrub that entirely down with some 401 solution. Let it dry. Make sure the floor is entirely clean. Let it sit. Now it's time to grout. Don't worry. Even though that grout looks like doo-doo, it will dry a beautiful color, we promise you. So basically smear everything out that looks like number 2, although I promise you it is not. Smear it out evenly and thoroughly with your grout float. Have a clean bucket of water nearby and a clean sponge because you're going to be wiping all that doo-doo right off the floor, ladies and gentlemen. So you're going to be smearing it on to wipe it off. Wax on, wax off, if you will. And now you go a little bit of a time because this does set very fast. It's very humid in this bathroom. There's no AC in the home. So yes, we are sweating our you-know-what's off, our cojones. But can't stop, won't stop, right back to the spreading of the manure. You want to make sure you go over every single nook, every crevice, every crook and cranny. You want to get in there all nice and deep like. You want to make sure it is completely filled. You go over the top and then you wipe. It's actually kind of fulfilling to watch it get all wiped down and clean after it's completely filthy. So clean talk, this video might be for you as well. Apologize in advance for the plumber's crack, but this is my dad's favorite thing. He's an excellent grouter, so we're going to let him have this entire one. 67 and still out here grinding. He is my hero, ladies and gentlemen. With Father's Day coming up, couldn't appreciate him more. Anybody still waxing on and off, still scrubbing. This is a process that doesn't go very quickly. It takes a little bit of time. You have to have patience with it. You got to be able to go back. Sometimes you got to put the grout just on your fingertip and swipe it through a joint that you may have missed. Get back to the end and save a little bit, people, because there's always a spot you might have missed. Now we have our margin trail float out. We're doing up against our marble saddle. It matches the marble tile that are in the shower area. We're finally down to our home stretch. We have our last little bit to scrub. We're going to scrub it entirely so you can see what this wood grain tile looks like with this grout in it. Once he gets that up, we let it sit for 1 hour's time. And then we're going to come back. We pull the plastic film off of our marble saddle. We get that little smear off, and we let it sit. And then guess what? We're going to go back over these tile. We have our 401 solution, and we're going to scrub all the excess grout that is still on the tile. Yes, it'll still be there. You'll wipe until your cloth is clean. Get all that brown off. You're going to wait until it's completely clean. You're wiping the towel and nothing else comes off. And here it is. Here's our grouted floor. Trim that. Up next in our bathroom remodel, it's finally time to trim out the new window we put in. As you can see, there is 3/4 inch thick white prime pine trim. We did the inside of the window with it because the sheetrock had to be built out with mason lath. So that's what we did in there. Now it's time to put on our base casing, which is going to be holding our window ledge or stool. We cut that trim 3.5 inches bigger than the window on both sides, and then we put a little 20-degree angle on the bottom for decorative looks. We then cut the stool 3/4 of an inch bigger than that on each side, so that will be our overhang. We cut our top piece of trim over the window. We cut that 3.5 inches bigger than the window, and we 45 each side. We tack it in and we do our level. Then we measure for our legs. We have 40 1/8 inches for each leg. We then take out our wood glue and we glue our miters, which are our 45s, and then we nail them. As you can see, we're going to have a 1-inch overhang on the side with the window ledge. We had to go bigger window ledge here too. This is a 5.5 inch window ledge. Again, we glued the 45 miter. We tack it in with our finish nail using 2.5 inch finish nails. And voila, we did a 1/4 inch reveal all the way around on the window trim, the 3/4 window trim. Next, we take out our caulk and we caulk in all our nail holes and all the way around. Back with the conclusion, the highly anticipated grand finale of our bathroom remodel. Now we're laying out all of our baseboard trim. We're making it out of tile, the same tile that was used in the shower. We're just ripping it down so we have 4-inch trim. We're putting our Schluter on top to give it a finished edge. so it's going to match the tile in the tub. It's going to give us a nice trim molding look around the floor, but it's able to get wet. You don't really want wood in a bathroom because if there's overflow, it can get wet. Now we got this. We did it around the tub, the toilet area, so we could get the toilet in. Now our plumber did the toilet and the vanities in. Now it's time to do the fixtures, such as the toilet paper holder. Now every little thing has to be calculated. We ask the homeowner where approximately they want it. We'll put some blue tape. Then we'll take our measurements and put them where they think they should go in retrospect, as close to where they want it as possible. Now we're hanging our floating shelves above the toilet bowl. Now all of our shower trim is installed. It's time to test it all out. We turn our shower head on. We turn our separate removable shower head on, and we use it as a multifaceted thing. We're going to hose down the entirety of the tub and clean it while we're doing that as well. Now you can see we got our vanity installed. It's time to get our rough electric in, our final electric. We have our LED in the shower, we have our overhead light over the vanity, and we have our fart fan installed. Now we're hooking our sink up, running our hot water, our cold water, testing them out, filling the sink, making sure the plug holds, then letting it go, letting it all drain out, make sure there is no leaks. Now we're opening our self-closing gentle close cabinet, and we're turning the handles to go the right way. Factory had them come the other way so they can fit in the box. We just turn them around, screw them in, bang, bang, bong. Real easy to do, and you can see it's self-closing very easily. Now you can look in, you can see our trap hookup, our hot and our cold water. Now we have some towel racks to hang. We have a towel rack to the left, and then right by the door will be another. Now it's time to put our backsplash over our vanity. We're using some Loctite PL Premium, It is for marble, so we'll hold this in place. We put it there, we set it, we hold it for a few seconds, then we screw the vanity into place into a stud, and there you have it. Now we're using our template for our towel rack. Real simply, it needs some mollies. You molly it in, you hook it up, bang, bang, bong. Another very easy thing to do. They went with a black look for all their fixtures. Now it's time to hang their medicine chest. We would have loved to do a recessed medicine chest, but these studs were turned on a flat, so you only had 1.5 inches, so it would never be enough, so we have to surface mount them. Never mind that, we center it over the vanity and the light, and there you have it. Now we caulk around the bathtub with our kitchen and bath caulk. This seals all the corners. You do the tub, the corners, the ceiling, what have you. And here is our entirely completed look. Thank you to everybody who watched. You want a bathroom? Don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thanks, guys. Here's the full and complete before and after bathroom remodel renovation as we take you through. This was the existing bathroom. The owner wanted to basically keep essentially the same footprint, but wanted to completely renovate and redo and bring it up to modern day looks. As you can see, here it is demoed completely to the studs, to the floorboards, what have you, and here it is completely redone. The walls are painted, the walls are tiled, the bathtub is in, the bathtub is tiled and grouted, and the floor is tiled and grouted. We have the trim, we have our light fixtures, we have our mirror, we have our vanity, our toilet, our trim is in, our window is in, our fart fan's in. Everything is painted. You got the white semi-gloss on the trim, on the door, on the window trim. You got the flat white on the ceiling. You got the greenish on the walls. You got the Carrara marble tile in the shower, in the niche, and on the floor as 4-inch baseboard trim. And then we have our wood plank flooring. Our shelves are put to good use over the toilet with toilet paper and some decorative things on top to really spice it all together, spruce it up. As you can see, one more look, the shower really makes that Carrara marble pop. You take your time, you lay out those tiles, and they all flow from one to the next. The towel racks are being utilized. And thank you guys for watching this.